Hello, this is Jason Nazar filling in for Jason Calacanis on This Week in Startups. And today we've got a great show with Lon Harris, as always, and our special guest, Paige Craig. So today on This Week in Startups, a new startup faces a booking dilemma in Ask Jason. We've got our angel investor, Paige Craig, who's with us all day today. And in the news this week, can Microsoft catch up in the mobile space? This is all coming up on today's episode of This Week in Startups.
Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
So thanks for joining us today on the show. As always, we just want to thank some of our sponsors. To start off with Ustream, who's been an amazing streaming partner since we started, and also now on Justin TV.
Justin TV.
Yeah.
Justin.tv/thisweekend. You can see all of our shows. Getting a bigger sponsor over there.
So, Lon, tell everybody about DNA Mail and why we love DNA Mail and why they should use DNA Mail.
We love DNA Mail. You can let them help you succeed in business by moving all of your mail to the cloud, and you can get their Google Apps and Microsoft Exchange hosted email services. Free activation, free setup, free 24/7 support right here in Los Angeles from people that care, and 99.9% uptime guaranteed. You can't beat that. Don't let your business suffer from subpar communication. Sign up today and take advantage of their free 30-day trial. Order online at dnamail.com. Follow them on @DNAmail on Twitter. DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail, as Jason Calacanis would say.
Great. All right, so if people want to leave comments about the show, where can they Twitter into during the live show?
At TWI Startups, or you can send anything to #twist, TWIST. We will see them. Dina, our new producer, is out there diligently in the chat room watching all of your tweets come in. So she will let us know if people have great questions.
Great. Well, you're all in for a real treat today. Paige is one of my very good friends here in Southern California, Los Angeles, and one of the most prolific angel investors and operator of businesses himself. And I'm really excited to have him here with us. But before we get to that, we're going to go to our segment of Ask Jason. And I think we've got Sue with us. Sue, you there?
Yes, I am.
Sue, it's nice to have you with us. You're here on
there.
Ask Jason with Jason Nazar, Lon, and Paige. So what's on your mind, Sue?
Well, I have a potential investor that is willing to put in money if we have programming done in India. And I also have a facilitator that is willing to introduce me to a whole lot of possible investors here in the United States to let me keep the programming done in the United States. But as a facilitator, he wants a 10% finder's fee. So my question is, which way should I go?
Sure. So generally, to start off, I don't typically recommend that folks work with people that take money for helping you to introduce you to people that raise money. Those situations usually seem more problematic than not and don't always end up in the best situation. Now, as entrepreneurs, we've got to do what we've got to do at the end of the day. But one of the things that's going to separate you and help you get your business off the ground is the fact that you can bring your business to life. And the key competency and key skill that you'll need to have is the ability to raise money. So really more for you than the money you'd give up is you should be developing the network of people that you know and you can reach out to invest in your business directly. And as a general rule of thumb, I typically wouldn't work with brokers at this stage of your company to help you raise money, both because A, it can be really problematic, and then B, you're not developing the core competency and skill that you're going to need to grow your business. So there's that one. As far as someone that would invest in your company, if you agreed to develop the site in India, why would they only agree to give you money if you're developing in India?
Cheaper. That's their thought.
Sure. So then that's an investor I'd be probably a little wary of, because your investor's first concern shouldn't be how do you do this the most cheaply. That's your job as an operator to figure out how to deploy your capital. They should want to give you money to help get your business idea off the ground. And probably if they were a sophisticated tech investor, they'd know that more times than not, you probably run into problems developing overseas, especially if you're not a developer yourself and know how to manage. Now that said, when we first started DocStock, I didn't have a lot of money. I maxed out my credit cards and I took out student loans, and we got our first version of our product done in India. But we had to quickly rebuild it afterwards. So I I don't think it's a bad thing to start in India or overseas anywhere if that's all that your capital allows you for. That's often the devil's bargain that we need to make as entrepreneurs. I'd be more concerned with why you have an investor that's telling you how you should operate and deploy your capital from the beginning, and if that's really a basis of a good, healthy relationship going forward.
Right.
Great. Paige, do you have any thoughts you wanted to add?
Yeah, totally. I mean, anyone that wants to take a cut is just wrong. I would never do that. I introduce people all the time, and I think if you're going to help entrepreneurs, you don't take a cut. It's a huge red flag for me. I'd walk away from that guy. Same thing, the dude that wants to have you do it in India, I don't even know why they care about that at this point. I'm more concerned about what are you building? And I don't care about your developers right now. What are you building? So stay away from the dude that wants to take a cut. The other guy sounds pretty lame as well.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Paige is going to give it to you straight. I'll try to be a little bit more PC about it, Sue. Thanks for your time on This Week in Startups.
I'm sorry?
Thanks for your time on This Week in Startups, and good luck with your business.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Sue.
Bye.
All right, so before we jump in, we get to have more straight talk from Paige, Straight Talk Express. Is that what we're going to call today?
I don't think I want to be on the express train.
No.
But you know, adrenaline-fueled angel. I say what I think. I don't really hide behind.
That I think we're all aware of, and everyone will become well aware of it, Paige.
Okay.
So Lon, we got one more sponsor to thank, MailChimp.
We got to thank MailChimp. MailChimp, it's cool. It's a way to sort of handle all of your emailing. Jason uses it for his Jason newsletter, which was very chaotic to get together because he's got thousands of subscribers, and so he would send out these emails, and he would have all of these sort of problems. People trying to steal the email list, trying to send their own emails to everybody on the list. It was a huge headache for him. Not anymore now that he's using MailChimp to manage everything. They've grown from 85,000 users to more than 450,000 users in just 1 year. And they're always introducing cool new features. Now they've got the new Faces dashboard that shows you the real people behind your addresses and your email list. So it's almost like that company Reportive. They're doing this now, like where you can actually get a lot of sort of dug down, interesting information about people just based on looking at their email. And if you sign up now, you can send up to 1,000 subscribers absolutely free. There's free sign up. You can try it out for free. You can't beat that. So go to MailChimp.com, and we thank them for supporting the show.
Great. All right, so I'm really looking forward to getting started. Paige Craig is a good friend. He is also probably the most prolific angel investor outside of Silicon Valley. I think in this last year you invested in over 30 internet startups.
Yeah, over 30.
And just an amazing entrepreneur that built up his own set of successful companies and has the reputation as one of the best investors to work with in Southern California. Plugged into the community. You might as well call it This Week in Paige Craig because you cover just about all the startups out there. And someone that's done a lot to help a lot of entrepreneurs out. So I'm really happy to get a chance to hang out and talk with you, Paige.
Awesome, man. I'm excited.
So just for everyone's benefit, so you started angel investing in technology companies in the last 2 years?
Yeah, in the last 2 years, basically.
And in that time, how many deals did you do?
I've committed and put in money to exactly 30, I believe it's 34 at this point.
Okay, so you've invested in 34 companies.
Yeah.
That's more than most venture capital portfolios.
Yeah, but they take forever to make up their mind. I'll make up my mind literally sometimes in 30 minutes. I'll plug GameCell. Met those guys in Texas. 30 minutes into watching them, you get this gut feel. You make fast decisions, and you invest in guys and girls. And I've invested in both in fast decisions.
And so, what's the typical range that you're investing when you invest in a company? How much you put in?
If you go straight average, I think it's probably 50 to 75. I've done up to 500 and as little as 10,000 in identified who. I slipped a check into their hands when they didn't want to take money, and now they're blowing it up. Yeah. But usually I'm looking to make something around, I was doing bigger 100K slots before, and I talked to Brad Feld. He's sort of told me, do a few more bets, lower the amount, and take that as an option. So I've started doing that over the last 9 months.
Great. And then, so when it comes to the startups, which are some of the ones that you, what are some of the ones that you're most proud of, have broken out, some of the startups that other people may have heard of that you've invested in?
I honestly love every one of them. I have a rule that when I think about a company, I have to feel passion for it. It's not just a business model. It's not just a founder. It's like this whole package. It's like this beautiful woman that hits you at the bar. And you're like, I have to consume that. And you have this feel for a company where like it hits you. And I have to know that whether I'm surfing in Australia or snowboarding, if I get a call, like I'm excited by this company. So I'm excited by them all. Some have really stood out and scaled well. So, Game Salad is sitting there. I'm not sure if I can say how much they own, but they're starting to dominate the iPhone game market, and they have a killer platform. I mean, I went to Comic-Con and watched developers who made games in weeks using their platform. There's a kid in Kuwait who built an app. There was like 900,000 downloads. He was on CNN the other day. And so people are, they're amazing. They have this vision. The original vision was like YouTube for games. Anyone can make games. Mobile Roadie is killing it. Identify is killing it. Clout, basically PageRank for social. They're out there blowing up a storm. They've had acquisition offers. They're building a great company. They're going for the big game. And I'm missing so many amazing people. Melody McCloskey of StyleSeat. Met with her at Tres Agaves. I was sold. Like, we sat there, did like 3 hours of tequila shots, listened to her story as an entrepreneur. Her co-founder, Dan, amazing duo. So I'm psyched by all these companies.
That's awesome. All right, so one of the things that I want to get the opportunity for us to spend a good portion of the time today talking about is, which entrepreneurs you make bet on, what qualities you look for. But before we get there, I just kind of want to give everyone the opportunity to hear a bit about your story, because I think it's pretty amazing. And when people hear that you've invested in 35 companies and that you've put an average of $50,000 to $100,000 in them, I think the first thought, at least for me, a lot of times is like, were you born with a lot of money? Like, where do you get all that money from? And I know that wasn't the case, and I just think telling everyone a bit about your background and how you got to where you're at now is a pretty amazing story.
Yeah, sure. I get the money question a lot. I've done well. I grew up very poor. We were homeless when I was a kid. Our first home was a home in Sacramento that my father convinced the owners to give to us, and we fixed up and built a family business there. I sort of got my MBA working with my dad. From the age of 6 through 17, I worked in this family business that was framing and graphics. And he took me every time he could to vendors, to sales calls. Like, I watched this guy, my dad, work with people. And he had a few core beliefs that rubbed off on me. One is that we serve others, and it's not just serving your community or serving your country. It's like you serve your customers, you serve your vendors, you treat people well in life, and they treat you well in return. And I learned that from an early age. I also learned a lot from him on negotiating and deals. And I actually helped him build his ordering facilities at this company. He got this old computer, must have been in middle school. I helped him program an ordering and warehousing system. So I learned a lot from him.
What were the biggest things you learned about negotiation at an early age?
That it should be a win-win. I'm not a winner-take-all mentality. The best deals, we align our interests. Don't force deals that don't make sense. But the best deals will last sometimes generations if you set the right deal structure.
Okay, great.
So I went off, originally I had thought a lot about going to like an MIT, a Harvey Mudd. I was into sports, I was into art, I was doing metal sculpture and painting, and I had all these interests. And then the family business, we had some family catastrophe, had to make different changes, and West Point came and recruited me. Went to West Point for 3 years, and everyone asked me, why in the hell did you give up West Point after 3 years? And for me, I always look at experiences as sunk costs. And I called up my dad, and I talked to him over the second year and the third year. I didn't see myself as a big Army guy.
And your family had a history of military service, right? Your dad and your grandpa?
Yeah, I mean, my family's all been, my family came to this country 1747. I think my aunt and uncle just came here from Pittsburgh to show us the whole family history again, and this weekend. So we've been here for hundreds of years. Our family believes in service. But it wasn't so much about the military thing as it was a really big challenge. And so West Point was interesting. I thought as a 16-year-old actually accepting early admission, that I wanted to be a general. I wanted to command these armies. And that was that was a lot of fiction. What I learned is I like to help people, I like to solve big problems, but I didn't like the bureaucracy of the military. So I left after 3 years, and I ended up being influenced by a Marine Corps major who taught my asymmetric and low-intensity conflict class. I enlisted in the Marine Corps to go infantry. I went into the intelligence field.
And so you were how old at that time?
When?
When you enlisted in the military?
That was October '95, so I would have been 21.
Okay.
So I went in the Marine Corps at 21. Did a few years there. I was in the intelligence field. Did some fun stuff. Went to Northern Virginia in 2000. Started working on more intel stuff. 2003, Iraq War kicked off. I bought a ticket to Oman. Had tried to raise money. I saw a big space to do private intelligence and various military type things on the ground. Basically,
what was your experience of having to try to raise your money for the first time?
Miserable. No one, everyone looked at me at this 20-something kid who, I knew this military stuff, I knew this intel stuff, I had an MBA done by this point, but no one believed in me. And the reality is, screw it. I mean, if you believe in it, do it. So I took $10,000 to Baghdad, 2003, and said, I'll build it from the ground up. I was running up 16th Street.
How much money were you trying to raise at the time?
I was trying to raise 100 grand.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not a lot of money.
Nothing. I mean, and I had never tried to raise money before, right? And there was no one there to tell me what to do. There's no one. So that's why I always think about those days, 2003, trying to raise money, when I see people today who I have a passion for. And that's why people want to take 5%, like the lady called in. I think it's just bad. Like, we should want to help people if they have great ideas. So no one would help me. I was like, you know what? If I believe in it, let's go all in. And I went all in. I drove into Baghdad 2003 and set up a network and infrastructure and technology and did all this really fun stuff. Probably the most fun I'll ever have. Solved real world problems. Did that in Afghanistan, Africa, Lebanon, other countries, and had a great time. Did big things.
It's pretty impressive. And so how long did you run that business for?
I was the CEO until 2007. Early 2007, stepped away, took a year off, and just sort of figured out the rest of my life. I was interested in microfinance, which led me to Silicon Valley, which led me to talk to Eric Chin at Bay Partners, Matt Biggie at American Capital, and I sort of fell in the space of, you don't have to join a VC. So the VC sort of started to remind me of when I was 17 going into West Point. I was thinking, this is not the structure that fits me, the way I do business. So I decided to become an angel investor.
That's great.
Yeah.
Had you always been interested in the tech space? I mean, going from setting up intelligence operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, during the war, wartime, is pretty different than, working on the next Web 2.0 product. I started coding when I was really young. Oddly enough, I was 8 years old and had an Atari 1600 XL, if anyone remembers those. And I was actually making my own video games at that age. But things like wrestling and soccer and football came to play later, so I sort of fell out of the coding space. But so you were originally a geek.
I grew up in the technology space, and I looked at technology in the military as I looked at my weapon and any other thing. It was one more tool. When I was in the intelligence community, I received promotions and awards for integrating technology into our military.
What was your game growing up? What was the game that you were like? What was the video game that you were really into, that you were great at?
Man, I was into so many. I loved Joust. Donkey Kong Jr. sucked so many quarters out of me. I'd go with my mom to Safeway, and Donkey Kong would take my entire limited, not salary, what do you
allowance.
Get? Allowance. The few quarters I had went into Donkey Kong Jr. for a long time. And there's a game I'm still trying to remember. I wish there was an emulator out there. But you used to drive around with a paint roller and have to paint a whole city. And then Paperboy. Remember that when the handles came out?
Paperboy was the best.
Paperboy was
Jump
sick.
over the stuff. And
Paperboy was sick.
was the best.
Yeah.
Paperboy was an awesome game.
And there was this pinball game that had the biggest pinball ever. It was like this Hulk game, but the pinball was really this huge. You had huge flippers like the size of oars that you had to play with it. So yeah, I did a lot of video gaming.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so it's 2008 now, and you decide you want to start investing in tech companies?
So I took off to Africa for some fun, late 07 to mid 08, and I have a friend, Nicole Jordan, who I'd met at TechCrunch a year before when I was looking at investing up in San Francisco.
And Nicole does a lot of publicity and PR for startups here in Southern California.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's at DeviantArt now.
Yeah.
So Angela is very lucky to have her. She's one of my best friends. She's the reason I'm in LA.
Cool.
She told me to come down here. I came here.
Maybe we should give Nicole a finder's fee.
Maybe, yeah. So Nicole, just really, I didn't realize there was a tech community in LA. So I came, I literally got back from Africa, stopped in DC to do some business, and then flew to LA to have fun. And after 2 days, called her up and said, hey, I found a house. And I moved to that house right by the Venice Pier. And just started to socialize, and one of the biggest things I did was to throw parties and invite entrepreneurs and interesting people over to get to know them.
What was the first tech deal that you did?
The very first tech deal would have been your DocStock, and the one right after that would be Mobile Roadie.
What was the process for you investing in that first company? Has it changed? Like
the process?
Yeah, has your process of analyzing a company changed in the last 35 years?
I've learned a lot. It's some lessons are expensive, but I've learned. For example, the first one I did, I took the whole deal for myself, and I've now learned that the best investments are done by syndicating them with other people that can help the companies.
All right, so let's talk about the qualities of entrepreneurs that you look for most, because you've given money to a lot of entrepreneurs, but more importantly, you've helped out a lot of folks, and you've probably had hundreds of people come to you and pitch their ideas and their businesses. And one of the things that I think is pretty remarkable is I think you're one of the investors that I've met that's simultaneously the most supportive but straightforward with people. So you won't just say, oh, hey, this is a great idea, and not return their calls. You'll tell them what you think the problems are with it. Yeah. But you seem to have a real love for people that are in the arena starting something.
Yeah, the man in the arena.
Yeah, I love that quote. Theodore Roosevelt. It's on my Facebook page. So what are the qualities? Talk to us about what are the top 5 things that you look for in an entrepreneur, and it's like they've got to have this to even get a chance to have me want to invest with them.
Yeah. So outside, not thinking about market, not thinking about product, just the people, passion is number one. And passion is hard to describe, but I sort of draw on 15 years of experience of working with people and find out who has a passion versus who is coin operated. Some people just want to make a buck. I've never been attracted to people who just want to make money. I want to find people who have a passion, and it's also got to be a passion for solving a problem. In many cases, artists have a passion for creating something beautiful or interesting, and I have a lot of respect for that. But I really have a lot of respect for people that have a passion for solving a problem, or a passion for creating something new that solves a problem. However you do it, but there's got to be passion there. Second is...
And solving the problem is the basis of how you're going to make your money. That's why it's important to you?
Well, I think you need to be a problem solver to be a good entrepreneur. I think you have to look at the world. I mean, I personally look at the world, and whether it's how you handle tips at a table, or how you coordinate cars, or how you find out what TV show to watch, these are problems big and small. And if you want to solve those problems, that interests me. I think if you're a problem solver, you're fundamentally an entrepreneur. Okay. Now, you also have to be smart. And there's all types of smart. There's street smart, there's technically smart, there's deal smart. There's lots of smarts out there. And that's why typically I'm looking for a 2, sometimes 3-person team. Because it's very rare to find an entrepreneur who has all those smarts. And it's not just book smart. And I think book smart alone is probably not great for you. You need to be street smart, you need to be people smart. So I'm looking for passion, I'm looking for intelligence. I'm also looking for commitment. And that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs make a mistake in, is that they don't go all in. And maybe I'm a little bit biased based on how I did it. I mean, I went all in. I put myself to the point, you asked me how I raised, I ended up taking an equity line of credit at my house and maxing out credit cards to make that thing work. And I believed in it. And I went all in by driving into Baghdad. Extreme example. I want to see entrepreneurs who have quit.
You should keep that. You should make that your obstacle course. Right? Hey, you want to raise money from Paige Craig?
I'll meet you in Tikrit.
Take a trip to Baghdad.
2 days.
Drive in there. If you're still alive in 7 days, we'll talk.
We can do it. I've talked to Thomas Corte about doing real boot camp. I've talked to you about doing a real boot camp. Which we'll get to another point here. That's
but by the way, for those of you working at DocStock, I'm not actually going to make you go to Baghdad. I was more thinking like a hike in Santa Monica.
Hey, we can do Afghanistan.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, it's nice there this time of year, Kabul.
Yeah. My dad just got to Afghanistan this week. But
we actually had a question in the chat room that dovetails perfectly into that discussion. Have you ever invested in a solo founder, or would you?
Yes.
Okay, well there you go.
Okay.
All right, so get into the other qualities.
Okay, other qualities. So we got passion, we got intelligence, we got commitment. And commitment, I'm looking for entrepreneurs that believe in it, that they're not hedging their bet. I don't want to see you working at some company. I want to see you committed. I want to see your co-founder committed. I want to see you putting it in. I understand you tell me, I got family, I got kids, I have all these responsibilities. Well then, maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Not that family precludes being an entrepreneur. I have founders who do that, but they're willing to take the risk. And if you're not willing to take the risk, why should I take the risk? I'm perfectly happy investing with someone who wants to take risk, because it's a risk for me, it's a risk of my time, my capital, my emotional commitment, and you as a founder should take a risk, a greater risk than me. So I don't like people who hedge their bets.
One of the things you do is you put a lot of time into your companies. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you have to, as an angel investor, it's not a VC, right? People ask me, today, Paul Brico was over, and he's like, you invested in Context Logic. I'm like, yeah. He's like, when did you invest? I was like, 4 weeks ago. He's like, what did you invest on? I was like, I don't know what the terms are, because I don't care about the terms. I mean, I will talk about valuations and all this crap, but really, as an angel investor, you invest in people and their ideas, and they're going to win big or they're not going to win big. And so you should be an angel investor if you love entrepreneurs and you love to help people solve problems. You shouldn't be an angel investor if your goal is to see some kind of ROI. You're basically getting the chance to work with people who are going to solve problems of the world.
But when you say that, I mean, you're expecting a return on your money. You're not doing this because you want to help people.
I expect that it'll work out, but when you say financially, I'm totally cool if it all goes to zero. I mean, from a financial perspective, it all goes to zero, cool. I'll be disappointed that we didn't change things. I think, you know, take Game Salad. I think Game Salad could fundamentally change how games are developed and shared.
But that's pretty different than I think most angels investors' perspective. I mean, the other thing too is you and I have talked, and you don't spend a lot of time investing in other asset classes. It's not like you know, angel investing is just one portion, and you investing in stocks and real estate, and if this all goes to zero.
If I wasn't angel investing, the other thing I believe in is microfinance. I think we have bigger issues at home to solve first, but next step for me would be to get behind microfinance overseas.
So angel investing really is more of a way for you to affect a lot of change that you're not going to be able to do on an individual basis because of your time now, than something you're doing because, hey, I want to make 10 times my money on this deal that I'm putting it into.
Yeah, it's up to the entrepreneurs to decide what they want to sell for.
Do you know I mean, have you talked to other people that really have that same philosophy when it comes to angel investing? Or I guess what I'm asking is, are the folks that are the most successful as angel investors, are they more like you, or are they more about thinking through, this is the deal that really has a chance to make money, and I'm putting in money because I think I can get this much return? Who are the angel investors? Do you have angel investor mentors that you've looked up to and say, hey, you know, I kind of want to emulate this person's career?
No, I don't. I've always done my own thing. I've talked to a lot of folks. I have a lot of respect for Brad Feld, for Mark Suster, Tom McInerney, Paul Brico. I mean, just people have taught me very little things in life. And I sort of take those points and stitch them together to make my own fabric.
So what were some of the things that they taught you? So you said that Brad said make more bets.
So you know, I started off being a thematic. I was a thematic investor in sort of this. I have 3 verticals and 2 horizontals I invest in through a matrix. And Brad Feld gave me some great advice on, you know, how to structure deals and how many to do and how to price them out. And that he sort of validated the thematic of investing I was doing. I look at, you know, SV Angel and what Conway and David Lee are doing. The fact that they believe in entrepreneurs before they believe in making money. I think I can't really speak for them, but I seem to get that from them.
I agree.
Mark Suster is very good. I think he takes a very critical approach to investing and evaluating. We disagree on a lot of points, but I like his critical and straightforward look at founders and the advice he gives them. Tom McInerney, you know, he's now up at Clout. He's a good buddy. He was on the show. Tom McInerney was a great match for me in that I'm a fast mover. I look at big picture. I have things I look for. Tom is a great detail-oriented guy that taught me some of the mechanics of how to structure a deal. So you learn something from everyone out there. And I can't say that there's one person who motivated me or shaped me. I think we shape ourselves.
Were there any of the folks that came to you and at first glance you weren't really that interested in them or their deal, and just either their persistence or the way they pitched you?
Jody Sherman is probably a great example.
Which company was that?
Ecomom.
Okay.
And that came in through...
so what's the company do, just for everyone?
They want to be Zappos for moms.
Okay.
They were actually on the show a couple weeks ago. We had Jody.
So honestly, I told Jody, I have no interest in selling shit to moms. I'm not a mom. I don't really know how I'd help you sell to moms. Not interested. And I turned him down a couple times. And finally, he worked my whole social circle, got enough people to hit me on the same day. It's like, look, dude, you meet me at the Starbucks in Beverly Hills. I'll give you like 20 minutes. And
so you hadn't even met him yet. You just kind of gave him a polite no over email or the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very quick on yes and no. I don't like to waste an entrepreneur's time. I think it's a huge disservice to string people along for options.
Absolutely. Which is one of the killers when you're raising money, just to get a bunch of maybes.
It's ridiculous. I mean, just give people a no, why. Be honest with people. It's the best thing we can do in life.
So who did he reach out to that said you got to meet
He hit
this
up
guy?
Mark Suster.
It wasn't me. I don't think
He hit up Tom McInerney. He hit up Mark Suster, and he hit up a couple other people. Just all kind of pinged.
And had he raised any money yet? So did he have some committed already?
He had a little bit committed. I can't remember exactly how much, but he had some committed. And I met him. And
did he bring his mom with him? Is that what happened? Did he sit his mom down next to him?
Actually, my sister was in town that weekend, and she really fits in the paradigm that he's going after, the sort of like moms, whether wealthy or not wealthy, and my sister's definitely not wealthy, but are very conscious about not just the environment, but their kids and family want a safe place to shop. She loved it, and I ran it by a few others, but that didn't even sell me. An hour into talking with him at Starbucks, I was like, this guy's a hustler, he gets it, he's committed. I mean, you guys have seen him, he's like a wild man, he's like a caveman. I would take that guy into Baghdad, Mali, Kabul with me, and I could see, and that's one of the things I look at when I see entrepreneurs. I'm like, is this a guy I would bring to battle? Not from the sense of like, because I see them with a gun shooting things. I'm like, do they have the confidence? Do they have the charisma? Do they have the character? Do they have the hustle to survive on a battlefield? Do they have the ability to survive in chaotic situations, under-resourced, and win? And I think Jody's one of those guys.
So let's stay on this point a second, because what I'm curious to get your thoughts on is that to you an inbred quality that you're born with, or is that a skill like anything else that you learn and can get good at? Because what happens if you're not?
Which quality?
Well, you described him as this, charismatic hustler, outgoing.
It's like how would you become a person that I think could survive on a battlefield? I would invest in you.
Yeah.
You can learn. So, give you an example. West Point. A lot of people look at sports like, why is sports important? There's this quote from West Point where it's, on the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds on other days, on other fields, will bear the fruits of victory. Didn't really understand it for a long time, but until you get there and you realize that the teamwork and the conflict of sports, or of going through several startups, or whatever challenges you face in life, if you purposely put yourself into tough situations and learn and survive, you will become you'll become one of these people that I think can change the world. And it doesn't have to be sports. It doesn't have to be just startups. It could be volunteering time overseas and building homes. But it means pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and taking on things that maybe you're not super comfortable with, but you believe in yourself, and you'll learn. And that's the best way. Every step of your life, you should be trying to push yourself.
Okay. So you meet him, and at the end of this meeting, had your mind been 100% changed, or did it just kind of plant the seed of?
No, it's changed. I committed right there.
Let's look at the opposite. What's the longest it's ever taken you to decide on investing in a company?
Well, if you want to say Jody, from the first time he reached out to me to when I committed, was probably the longest, because I think that spanned probably 3 months or 4 months.
But once you had met him, you decided it seemed like in an afternoon.
I decided there, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stories. I had referred somebody to you, and you met with them for, it was like probably half an hour, and he was oversubscribed on his deal, and you forcefully gave him a check for $10,000 and said, take it, just cash it.
Yeah.
You didn't have any terms squared away, there was no paperwork, you just said cash it and we'll figure it out, or I'll come in on your current deal terms.
Yeah, I always carry, I have a checkbook with me today. I carry a checkbook. I don't want to miss.
Lon, do you have a business idea?
So it's called This Weekend. Here's the idea.
Funny enough, I almost invested in this company, but someone who may have large ownership stake in this company would not let me invest.
Sorry, it's not personal.
Okay, and I still showed up on the show.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Someday I'll kick you guys in the ass, but for now I'm cool with it.
It was all their fault.
I know.
Wow, this is like a show of Jerry Springer about to happen in Madison, isn't it?
Hell no!
You didn't realize who is your secret investor that never happened.
Bring him in. We've got him here.
Yep. I'll talk straight about it. I like the idea. I love Mark Jeffrey. A guy like Mark is the guy I would bet on in anything.
And Mark Jeffrey's the CEO.
He's our CEO. Definitely would survive on a battlefield, I think.
And the great thing is I have amazing stories about Mark.
Oh, really? Do tell. This is taking an interesting turn.
Episode number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the extended version.
Ask him about, beachfront party about a year ago, and the
Making
Prince
it
of
now.
Africa for another day.
Okay. So, do you structure the deal terms? Will you negotiate? Will you take the lead on a deal and structure the terms that other investors follow?
I've taken a lead on several deals. You know, it
Are there
depends.
certain points as an investor that are important to you? I mean, even though are there things that, I mean, you don't really take many board seats. That's not an important thing to you.
Yeah, no, I'm board seats not important. I've turned down board seats.
Are there any deal terms that are important to you when you're structuring the deal?
It's got to make sense. So, it may sound weird. I have turned down great deal terms because they're advantageous to me personally, but I don't think they're advantageous to the life of the company or the vision of the entrepreneurs. And that's not, you want to read some good books. Look at The Selfish Gene, The Naked Ape, The Human Zoo. It's not about altruism purely from I'm just a great guy going to do good things for the world because I want to. It's more of a collective, we are all better together by working together. So that's how I think about myself and these guys or girls and their future investors in the life cycle of the company. So I'm concerned in making sure the terms work now and will work when they raise for a Series A. I think of it from that perspective.
Who are some of the folks in general in the tech space that you look up to most, whether entrepreneur, investor, operator?
The most?
Yeah. Who are some of the folks in the tech space that just you really respect?
I don't know. This is always a hard thing for me. I'm not, even in history or, people are always like, who do you look up to? I've never been in that frame set of here's someone that I emulate. I've never read biographies or chased down people to emulate them. I'm more of a live life, experience it, learn, and build yourself. Be aware of the world around you, but I don't really have figureheads that really motivate me other than my dad and my grandfather are probably are folks I look up to for certain things in their life. The figureheads and tech leaders and business leaders, not so big for me. Maybe U.S. Grant. I liked his very down-to-earth style. Didn't give a as uniform. It was all about just get shit done.
So, one of the things I think is interesting too is that you and I are both based down here in Southern California, but it seems like your investments primarily started here, but are also trending towards the Bay.
Yeah.
What are the differences that you see between Southern California entrepreneurs and Bay Area entrepreneurs?
Well, that's such a touchy subject. So many things I could say, except so broadly speaking, I think LA is better representative of a real city of consumers and actors and people in life, so that you can build a company here and have a microcosm of every community that you will have to sell to or support across this country. We're also, I don't know how much bigger, I think we're 5-10 times bigger than San Francisco, and traffic's a bitch, but it's a great place to grow a company if you're going to have to deal with real people, get real credit card numbers, and actually sell them things, develop things they want to use. San Francisco, cool things catch on, and sometimes those are huge wins, but a lot of time, there's a lot of cool things that just wither away and die. There is a bit of an echo chamber, and I see a lot of companies building things in an echo chamber up there. Exceptional engineers and exceptional entrepreneurs. When I go to San Francisco, I will go from 5 in the morning till 3 in the morning. 23 hours, day after day, just meeting with, working with, talking to people with brilliant ideas. Not that we don't have them in LA, but there is a density of talent attracted to the Valley. And
it's
San
different.
Francisco.
And the class of internet entrepreneur in the Bay is head and shoulders above anywhere else, I think, in the country, including Southern California.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, huge issues around recruitment and retention. You build a company in San Francisco, you are going to constantly fight a pack of wolves looking to rip the young from your herd. Every day, your great engineers will be hit by the pulls of starting their own company, being pulled away. I think LA, you can stand out with a great idea, a great company, attract people to come here, and actually hold on to them and have enough room to develop a company with a culture and a vision that keeps people on board. San Francisco, you get a very short time span to create that company and that culture and keep people on board before people start to rip them away. Deal size, valuations are higher in San Francisco. There's a lot more notes, and especially uncapped notes. And if you're looking at that perspective, it's more expensive up there generally. There's a lot more competition. If you're going to stand out in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, much tougher.
Do you think that people are better business people down here? Do you think they have a better sense of how to make money?
On average, I don't think it really matters. I think I've met great entrepreneurs in Omaha, Boulder, El Paso, San Francisco, LA. Great entrepreneurs are very rare, and perhaps a lot more of them are attracted to the Bay Area, but I meet incredible entrepreneurs here in LA as well. We have a real advantage when it comes to content. You know, this is a town where we have creatives left and right. You know, people are waiting tables, and yet those same people could be working on your blog, they could be making video. Great content producers here. You know, content and design, we have in abundance.
So I want to go back to just the fundraising topic for a second. And so earlier, you know, having talked about having tried to raise money yourself for $100,000, which is not a lot of money, and you know, running into roadblocks there, and now having to invest in this many deals. What advice would you give for someone out there that's got an idea, building on something, on how they get that first angel round raised? So you talked about the characteristics you're looking for, but let's say they've got those characteristics. Yeah. I mean, more kind of tactical nuts and bolts. What are the things people need to do to successfully raise that first round of capital for their tech company?
Wow. I mean, there's some, I'll tell you, it's definitely easier today, and investors, both VCs and angels, are accessible online. You can go to Venture Hacks, you can go to CapLinked, you can go to all these sites where you can find out angels, you can do research on them, you can find out who my friends are, you can find out what I like. It's so easy to find out who should invest. I don't think entrepreneurs really think of the investment process as much as they think about building a company, though. But you have to remember, raising that money is your first hurdle if you really need it. And if you're going to do it, I would say do your research, find out who is complementary. Don't chase the easy money. Find out the person who likes to invest in what you're doing, do your research, try to get access to them. If you can't get access to them, get access to their friends. Go on Plancast and stalk them. I've told founders to stalk Dave McClure. I've told them to stalk Jeff Clavier. I've told them go to Plancast and stalk these people and put yourself there. If you want it, you will get it. You know, I fundamentally believe that if you want something to happen, you have the capability to do it, you will make it happen, but you may have to suffer to do it. But if it's worth doing, it's worth suffering to get there.
So one of the things I've noticed with entrepreneurs, you've heard me say before, is that the sales process with your investors doesn't end when you raise money, it begins. And I think that's a hard thing for some people to grasp, because some people don't realize, especially early on, that when you go to raise your second and third round, you're often going to tap into either your investors for that round of capital directly or the people that they know. And so I'm curious, within the amount of deals that you're in, the amount of entrepreneurs you work with that have your money,
right?
What are some of the mistakes that people make post financing in your relationship? I mean,
you mean past the seed or past the A? Which stage?
No, specifically past either. But what I'm saying is, are there entrepreneurs that you have invested in that you've had any problems with, without naming names?
Yeah, without naming names, I'd say a big mistake is people raise the seed and they forget, okay, now is time to get to business. Let's build the damn thing we're talking about. Let's build whatever it is you're going to do that. I've seen some founders get lured into the cycle, this vicious cycle of talking to VC after VC after VC. There's a time to sit down and build your company, and that's after you did your seed round. Build. I mean, the purpose of that seed round was to take money to get you to a certain point.
And then, are there any folks that you have trouble communicating with? I mean, how often, you know what I mean, in the communication that you have with the companies, that either rub you the wrong way, or?
I think I communicate great, because I tell people when I'm pissed off at them. I tell them when I love them. I tell them. I think this is the greatest mistake we make in life, is we're just not direct with people. You know, I don't have to be so direct and say, I think your coat sucks. But I'm saying, I'll be direct. I like your coat. But I'm saying,
Thanks,
it's very sexy on you. It's a good manly fit.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And the shave's looking good today too. But it's just, we need to be direct in life. And
I was going to wear my skull and crossbone shirt, but I was like, you know what? Paige may be wearing one of those.
Yeah, we have to coordinate sometimes.
Yeah.
So my point is, I think founders should be direct with VCs. I know there's this game that I'm actually, you know, I'm doing my own company now. I'm out there raising money on Sandhill. Be direct. You know, there's games you can play when you're raising capital. There's a little bit of scarcity you have to play to get VCs, but really you're better off just being direct with people. And the biggest thing we do is waste time. And we waste time when there's a gap between reality and what we're saying. The closer that gap is, the more time we save. You know, so be honest with your VCs, be honest with your angels, be honest with your partners. And I'm not saying dishonesty like black lies. I'm just saying when we sort of go
transparent. Be transparent.
Not completely transparent. There's a balance between complete transparency, and transparency is one of my investment themes. But there's a balance between being a fully open kimono to being transparent about what is important. But don't deceive people.
That's a good point. I think one of the mistakes often new entrepreneurs make is that they'll go to their investors with everything and overload them on information. And the fact of the matter is, if you go to your investor with any situation or problem, they're going to want to help out. And sometimes those are, situations.
That's a whole different topic. But as far as what founders should do with angel investors and any type of investor and advisor, is you have to, as an entrepreneur, decide what's important to you and tell them what to do. I've had this talk with a few entrepreneurs. Tell us how we can help you. And there's a push-pull. Me as an investor, I'm going to be out there scanning the environment all the time. I'm going to try to think of the high-order things I should help you with. And I'll throw that to you, and I'll be very selective when I throw. And you as a founder should be identifying what's important to you and tasking us. I mean, as a founder, once you get that money, task us. I mean, if you want an introduction, you need help on product, and don't do everyone. Like, understand your investors so you know who's good with product, who's good with marketing, who's good in whatever you need.
And so now you're going back into the entrepreneurial field. I think you've generally said that you're pausing on your angel investing for now, and you've got a new company idea that you're going to be spending all your time on.
Yeah, I do.
To broad brush strokes, can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, broadly. So amazing.
What's the name of the company going to be again?
The name is BetterWorks.
BetterWorks.
Amazing co-founder George Ishii. Totally blessed to have this guy. Former PayPal, Yammer, Genie, incredible guy. We are basically making work rewarding. And without going into too much detail, it's a B2B platform. We're looking to have a momentous impact on the employee workforce, and we're looking at employer relationships and frameworks that can make companies better. A lot of themes there from happier employees, but it's all about making better companies through a platform approach.
It's an idea you've been thinking about for a long time?
It sort of spins off 15 years of experience of what makes companies and organizations better, and taking this art and making it into a science that's accessible to any company. We're focused on small to medium businesses, entrepreneurs, 200 to 500 employees, the lifeblood of this country. And
you've been pursuing funding for this company, right? You're going to raise money to get it off the ground? I am. Why not just cash flow it? I mean, is it just such a big idea that you want to take outside capital right away? It's a massive idea. We're going after, just to quantify the size of the space, we're going after a space that small and medium companies spend $1 trillion a year on, and it is essential to success. But there's a huge gap between what companies can do, given limited resources and time, and what they need to do. And so we're going after a very big space that could fundamentally affect entrepreneurship in this country. It's something that George and I are both passionate about. So it's a big, big play. We're going to need partners with us that can go through a couple rounds of capital with us, but beyond the money, because the money can come from 100 different VCs, 200 different VCs. It's more about us sitting down. We're talking to VCs who complement what we do. They're people that personally we think we can have great discussions with. They're investors whose experience and portfolio are complementary and not competitive to what we do. And we just feel like we could have a beer with them. And there's a lot of complex decisions we're making around who we go with, but be deliberate in who you take money from. Whether you're a first-time entrepreneur or you're sitting in my seat, you should always be very deliberate about who you take money from. And that goes back to your first caller, which is don't give in to easy money. Always look for smart money. And so just kind of like, I guess my last question is, having now had 35 companies pitch you successfully, how much of an advantage do you feel that gives you when you're pitching, to raise money? I mean, obviously you've got a background and track record that I think, if you had never invested in a single company, it'd be, you'd be an easy bet for, any venture capitalist to bet on. Yeah. But you also have the added advantage of kind of having the inside scoop of the perspective of an investor, and how does that play into your pitches? I'd say I'm quite lucky to be in a position of understanding these VCs at a level where many founders don't. Even so, VCs don't just bet on you because it's cool or it's fun. You still have to convince them that you have a great idea. So I actually changed my mind. It shouldn't be the entrepreneurs that are looking to raise money from you that have to go to Baghdad. It should be the VCs. And we should set up a venture capital challenge in Baghdad, where it's a series of physical, mental, and emotional obstacles that the VCs have to go through. And basically it'll be trial by fire. And the Prince of Persia style, the VC that survives, the elements, gets to invest in your deal.
Sue's just going to be all over this.
But you already know this. I mean, just going out to the bars with me, it's almost like going to a war zone. So every VC's had to do that already.
Yeah, that is true. Well, the closest we got to a war zone is the bars when the girlfriend that you told me about for a long time that I was looking forward to meeting, and I didn't know it was her. I was just politely saying hi to her, and then I saw that she was your girlfriend, and I backed everybody in the bar away from her. I was like, do not overly flirt with this female.
This female.
A couple questions real quick from the chat room. What was your biggest miss? Something you passed on that then went off to do really great and you wish you could have that back?
The biggest miss? Well, there's a few. I'm trying to remember. There was a company called Flexless, and I just moved to LA. They're now called, I think, Lookout. I think Khosla put money into them, but amazingly smart guys. I was trying to find ways to get in with them. I really loved the product and could also help them on the defense side, but Khosla came, and I was really sad that they had to leave LA and go up to San Francisco, but it makes sense from an engineering perspective. Who I've passed on, I'm trying to think. I'm happy to admit failure all the time because I do it almost every day, but I can't think of a company that I passed on that I'm just like, damn, I should have done that.
Is there a girl that you rejected you one time that you can talk about?
That'd be a big miss.
An embarrassing moment?
No, I mean, in life. So if you're talking about, I mean, the bigger question is, do you make mistakes? And the answer is, hell yes, I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And the biggest thing we do is twofold. One, we don't acknowledge mistakes internally and learn from them. And two, we don't acknowledge mistakes to the people who suffered because of our mistakes. And because you can do a lot in this world when you say, I screwed up. It should be internal, meaning I'm going to get better, I'm going to learn why I made the mistake. And two, if your decision impacted others, they should know that you acknowledge that you made a mistake and how you're going to do better in the future. So have I made mistakes? I've made a ton. There are people who are probably dead because of dumb things I've done or decisions I've made. There are companies that maybe didn't get funding. There are resources that have been misused because I made the wrong decision. And I just try to make better decisions throughout my life. And as long as we're honest about them, then I think we can all be better.
So that was Paige's way of saying he's never been rejected by a girl, I think.
Oh, rejected by a girl? I mean, one of the reasons I retired from Lincoln Group in 2007 is I lost this girl who was amazing. I mean, who knows where my life would be now, but I was a completely different guy if you met me as I'd come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, Africa, and she just woke me up one day and was like, I'm done with you.
Well, I'm pretty sure I can put my mistakes up against yours and that I'm still beating you out. So, what's the next question we have?
A couple others. Based on what you were saying about sort of your philosophy of entrepreneurship, has to be somebody who sort of takes on challenges, can survive. Do you think athletes make better entrepreneurs because they have some of that competitive background?
Depends on how many head injuries you've taken to get to that point.
That's true. Maybe not boxers.
No, anyone in a competitive environment, whether that's a individual sport, whether that's wrestling or powerlifting, like intense discipline and control, team sports, but the point here is you don't have to be NBA. You just have to do sports or anything competitive. So, yeah, I think athletes are great. It doesn't mean you have an advantage, but if you actually did sports, you learned something from it, and you're going to apply that to what you're doing now, tell me that when you're pitching me.
Cool, interesting. I got one more. Are there trends that a lot of angels seem to be picking up on right now that you are not into, and that you think that's a sort of a wild goose chase?
Trends. Well, there's
Paige
a lot.
sets the trends first off. Of
course.
Paige, I'm
Silly
pretty
chat
sure
room.
every single person in Los Angeles know about chat roulette.
Game Crush.
And then Game Crush.
Crush.
So Paige, I think, sets the trends, not follows them.
It was fun. I did see chat roulette early only because of Tyler at your DocStock party, way before anyone heard about chat roulette. Tyler pulled it up at your party, and within 8 seconds, I had a huge example of why this would be such big. Now, trends that people are following that I don't ascribe to.
Yeah, that's what they're basically saying. You don't think this is going to have longevity, and a lot of the people around you seem to disagree.
Man, I think it's usually the opposite. I usually bite into things that people are just like, why in the hell are you doing that? But what are people doing that I don't believe in?
What about this whole real time? Remember Ron Conway?
I believe in it. I believe real. So look at any communication device, the less lag there is, the more time efficient it is. Anything that lets us communicate, do things faster will win over anything else. So you go from, smoke messages to telegraph, to phone, to cell phone, to Twitter, to real time. It's in my head, that's faster. Yeah, real time wins.
Yeah.
What's hot? There's Groupon clones. I mean,
there's a Groupon thing, location, space stuff.
People are investing in clones a lot, and I think that's the refuge of lazy investors, is to invest in things that are essentially copycats. I know it works, and there are companies out there putting money into people that go to South America and replicate a U.S. model, or you copy someone else. Personally, it doesn't interest me. I want to invest in people who either have a very unique idea or a unique way to solve a problem. But so maybe clones. I mean, I know financially they can work out. It just doesn't interest me. What else is out there? I don't know. It's a hard question. I don't have a great answer right off the top of my head.
Thought you did fine. Should we talk about GoDaddy?
You're up.
All right, yeah. Well, so GoDaddy, everybody knows GoDaddy. Go get your domains over there at GoDaddy. Starts at less than $5 per month. 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to GoDaddy's hosting connection. They now offer you website hosting with unlimited disk space and bandwidth for less than $15 a month. And you can see right there on your screen, the code is TWIST749, TWIST749. Use that when you check out, and you will register your domain name for only $7.49. What a deal. Some restrictions apply. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com.
Plus, they have the ripped girl from the workout videos on the internet.
Jillian Michaels, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's not the one that did the shake weights, but I think if she did the shake weights video, it would have done better.
No, that's an adult site.
Oh, sorry.
The shake weights. News?
Let's go to the news.
A little news.
Okay.
I can't read that in the chat. Why is Lon such a what?
Boss.
Boss. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Why are you such a boss?
I do what I can.
Okay.
So the first story, we teased it in the cold open. Microsoft on Monday unveiled a new suite of smartphones running the company's new operating system, Windows Phone 7. They also debuted their new tagline, always delightful and wonderfully mine. Steve Ballmer described the phones as simple and convenient, saying that the philosophy behind it is get in, out, and back to life. He also admitted the company has, in fact, missed a cycle and is behind in the mobile arena. So some of the phones they showed off, there's the HTC 7 Mozart, the Dell Venue Pro, that's a vertical slider, Samsung Focus, which is the thinnest of the WP7 phones, and carriers are going to be T-Mobile, AT&T, and Sprint. They also debuted the Marketplace, where you're going to buy apps. Games are like The Sims 3 and Monopoly. Netflix is in there, IMDb, eBay, Twitter. So what do you think? I mean, does Microsoft have a real chance now at cracking into the mobile arena, or is this too little too late?
I will say that I think their phones are probably a lot like their developers. They're probably the smartest, most complicated things on the market, but they're not simple or pretty or easy to understand.
Yeah, we're definitely in an age, I think, where design is critical, and we're so overwhelmed by all the bits and bytes and dots and colors of the world that design has become very critical to success. And I do look for that as an investor. So can Microsoft pull off design? I would say no.
But shouldn't they be able to? Shouldn't they just be able to buy good design?
Wouldn't you have to have a good sense for design to know what design to buy?
Yeah, but they've got enough money to find somebody with a good sense of design.
Yeah, who knows? I don't think so.
We'll find out.
We'll find out soon.
What do you think, Lon?
Well, they seem to be, I don't know quite what it is with that company, but they seem to just be unable to connect in here. I think it definitely comes down to aspects of design. They seem to get it in terms of the PR, like him saying, get in, out, back to life. Like that's what I always think of in the Microsoft brand as sort of trailing behind it. It's complicated. You've got to kind of learn how they do things. You got to sort of spend time with it, whereas, you know, stuff like the iPhone is you just hit the button and then it syncs for you and it sort of takes you off to the races. So I feel like maybe they've got the right idea now. They are coming from pretty behind though, so I'm skeptical.
I'd rather see Microsoft go in the car market. Let's Google, Microsoft go head on head with cars, self-driving cars. You know, first time you get the blue screen of death on your windshield. I mean, that's. I would jump on board. I would test drive Microsoft cars.
A buggy Windows car.
Yeah, but I want to see them. Screw the mobile device. Let's go to cars.
You know what though? I want the car to have the old Microsoft help where there was the paperclip, and so you're driving, you're in the passenger seat of your Microsoft auto-driven car, and on the dashboard comes up this paperclip that says, "Looks like you're driving a car. Want any help?" And it just has my whole command prompt there. Yeah. If the Microsoft car had the paperclip support help on my visual dashboard,
wouldn't it be like a little socket wrench, monkey wrench or something in the car?
It wouldn't be a paperclip.
It'd be a little wrench guy with eyes.
Gearhead or whatever it is. Yeah.
Like, let's take a look at your transmission.
Listen, Steve Ballmer, feel free to take this idea. It's yours. You can have it.
I mean, you could be, Xbox game consoles built in the
Now, Microsoft
seats.
is doing that amazingly. Have you seen their new video game console? It's basically like the Wii, but it scans your body.
Kinect,
and any movement you do, it does.
That's hot.
It looks pretty stellar. We have the PlayStation one is out. The Move.
Yeah,
it's a little.
They're down the promenade. You can go check them out.
Yeah, we actually we had one here. We were playing around with it. It's a little janky. I'm sort of waiting for the Kinect. I'm hoping that's going to.
The Kinect I demoed. It was something else.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Gesture gaming is going to be hot.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So let's talk about Hashable. It's a new introduction service. It's gaining some attention. Basically, you tweet out an intro to two people and you include the hashtag Hashable, and then the site will send a tweet out to everybody involved, and it has an icebreaker page.
Oh, it's Michael Yavandidi?
Yes,
former Quigo?
Yes,
killer guy. He's awesome.
It's his new company.
So what's the business do?
So it's basically like I said at Paige Craig, meet at Jason Nazar, and then you would both get a tweet like from Hashable that says, "Hey, you two were introduced. Here's a page." And if you went to that page, it would have your bio, and ways you can get in touch with each other.
It basically simplifies the introduction process. So you think that, like, you probably introduce a lot of people. I introduce a lot of people. You have to do that custom email address, here's where you should meet, and then you get no feedback. You don't know over time whether your introduction was useful, not useful. He sort of has a framework to make that introduction, but also the long tail of what effect did you have with the introduction? Did it work out? Did it not work out? It's an interesting idea, and he's had past success. Quigo killed it. He came in there and destroyed it. Michael's a good guy to bet on.
Yeah. Cool. And they're doing a couple fun things too, like if I introduce you, I get to then follow the page and see if you two actually met up. And if you do sort of connect to each other, I get points for it. And so there'll be this whole like people trying to get points by introducing other people.
What can you redeem with the points?
You get hash cred
you
points.
You get Game Crush for life.
Okay.
And go crush it.
Right, something like that.
I think you just need to start. You've invested in enough companies now that you could just create a network of benefits in between the companies. That all the companies give their special benefits to all the other companies.
Oh, we do that already.
And it'd be the
no, we already do that.
Okay.
And if you're not in the circle and you're outside the circle, like this weekend, but then you don't get the full advantage.
Anyway, I thought it just sounded interesting. Also, massive potential to spam. So I'm wondering how they're going to take care of people trying to introduce like every two people on Twitter and get points. And it seems like it could get out of control.
But you'd really get, a week you must get, introduced to, at least 10 to 20 people a week saying, one of those emails that say intro. Is that fair?
I get way more intros than that, yeah. But you have to be selective, right? This is a world where...
But would you really want to get your intros through a Twitter introduction? Is that the way you'd prefer to handle it, other than just coming into your email inbox?
I don't care how an introduction comes in if it's a good introduction. I take introductions from LinkedIn, Facebook, in person, buy me a shot at a bar. The introduction, I don't care how it comes in.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about hub pages, content community hub pages. They hit their 1 millionth hub. Hub's a page made by a member of the public that includes basic information about a topic, plus forums, Q&A, Twitter, videos. Kind of like another startup I can think of, those topic pages that we don't have to mention here. So hub page authors are known as hubbers. They earn money by publishing hubs and then sharing the revenue. They get 60% rev share on pages they create. An average of 2,200 articles are published on the site each day, bringing in a total of 39 million unique visits a month. So ever used hub pages? And do these sites that by their nature are, million pages, a lot of them are going to be sort of mediocre, low quality. Does that have a future, do you think, that kind of business model? If Google shifts their algorithm or something, are these companies DOA?
I think they've always got a business model. I happen to know the folks at Hub Pages, and I think they've got a great company. And I think they're one of those companies that aren't particularly sexy and aren't getting written up, on blogs all the time. But they're quietly just, building a really good business that makes a lot of money. and adding a lot of value. And Google's not going to change your algorithm. Google's out there to discover really valuable content. Google's never going to be able to produce all the valuable content in the world. And so sites like Hub Pages that offer really simple, straightforward incentives to people to create content and to put it online, which is namely your content's going to get discovered, you'll get some self-promotion, you'll get to share in the advertising revenue, which are all the same things that we tap into at DocStock, are going to surface a lot of amazing quality content. And yeah, a lot of it, if you look at just the sheer amount of quality produced, it's not all A+ quality. But what you have is the best of it rise to the cream of the crop, and what Google is good at is hopefully over time getting good at identifying what the best quality is. And I think that the contributors at Hub Pages are really enthusiastic. I think they create good content, and I think they've built a really great company over there.
It sounds boring to me. That's just my gut. Yeah.
Hub Pages?
I like boring businesses. If I could run boring businesses that make lots of money and help lots of people, I'd be happy to do it.
Boring is fine. It just seems like something that so many people are doing, and it just, personally, would not interest me as an investor.
I mean, there's definitely some companies are doing well with it. Demand Media, obviously going IPO. Associated Content has a similar model and is doing pretty well. Mahalo. So there is success stories out there in that sector. We'll move on. Social Network won 2 weekends in a row at the box office. It's made close to $50 million thus far in theaters. That's on top of positive reviews. Now it's getting a lot of Oscar buzz. With the budget of about $45 million, that means projected total gross of about $100 million at this point. It's a hit. It's going to do well. So does this mean anything long-term for Facebook? I mean, Mark Zuckerberg seems to be making the case, even if the movie is a worldwide phenomenon, more people are on Facebook every day than will ever see this movie. So do you agree with him that it's not a big issue for the company long-term?
Did you see the movie?
I saw it. I think the Facebook...
It's a great movie.
I think the Facebook is huge. And it goes through history from war games to today, which is tech has become cool. Tech is becoming a part of society, so tech is here. I mean, you're no longer sitting. It's no longer dorks behind a computer. Tech is fundamentally becoming part of American society. Flyover states. My grandmother runs her church group in San Luis Obispo via Facebook. Tech is here, and the great thing about it being cool and it being epitomized in a movie is that it's I guess it's mainstream. And that means there's a lot more capital, there's a lot more people going through school thinking, hey, I'm going to go work for a great tech company, I'm not going to go work for GE. And I think that's great for all of us looking to build great companies in the tech space.
Yeah.
I don't think the movie will make any difference to their bottom line. I don't think it's going to affect revenue or drive in more users than they would have got. But it was a great movie that even if you've never been on a computer, you're going to like just because it was well done by Andrew Sorkin.
It's fun.
Yeah. And it's going to be an iconoclast movie. We're going to look back in 10 years and it will stand out like Wall Street stood out. And just in the same way that Wall Street created a generation of people that wanted to go work on Wall Street, would just be one of those things that people point to.
I don't think so. I want to see the MySpace movie. That would be the Breakfast Club of this generation.
Did you see they did that parody online of like they're doing the MySpace movie? It's like Tom, and he has all these friends now.
I want to see the MySpace movie.
I think what it does is the Facebook movie makes. I think it makes people in tech seem like rock stars a little more than they actually are.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I mean, talking to people in the tech industry, every entrepreneur I knew and everybody who worked at startups was excited for this movie. It's validating in a way.
But to your point, Wall Street made investment bankers look like rock stars. Most of them are boring.
Yeah, I agree. But then it created a whole generation of people that that gave them even more incentive.
That's my point. Like whether it's Wall Street, but now it's Facebook or the MySpace movie, and every other spin-off movie. It's a turning point that it's not cool to be an iBanker. It's cool to be a sysadmin, Linux engineer. It's cool to be the entrepreneur who changes the world with the next tech company. That's what's cool nowadays.
I want to see if they're going to do like the Social Network trilogy, like Lord of the Rings, and they're going to follow Mark Zuckerberg for the next 5 years, and they'll keep doing it in intervals of his life.
One network to unite them all.
Yeah.
We'll have to do the Friendster. We'll have to do Classmates.
The question is we're going to find out in the last movie if Mark Zuckerberg's actually Frodo or Mordor, like the eye that watches over everybody, or like the unsung hero.
Peter Thiel's his father or something. Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
There is a company out there looking to. I mean, it's big vision.
Actually, it'd be Chris the Wolf that would be his father, maybe. Yeah.
Context Logic. They might be the next Facebook.
They're the open source.
No, I don't really
It's,
believe. I don't.
Diaspora is the one that's
Yeah.
the open source Facebook.
Gotcha.
But there's interesting when you think about the space of social networking that, Twitter, this asymmetric following, and Facebook, we're following friends. But there is something interesting about what about a social network where it's about semantics versus just straight relationships. And I think that we might see that emerge.
I'm pretty sure though that the pendulums, we're getting to the point that too much of our lives are public and lived online. I mean, I kind of draw the line at location. I mean, I really don't want people knowing where I'm at any given time. And I think I was talking about it with you even, just that, you'll put on Foursquare or Facebook Places where you're at, and somebody will just show up.
Totally.
And it's like, well, I'm here having a beer with you because I didn't want to hang out with other people. And I want to talk to you, and Lon, for the sake of this example, we'll show up and like, hey guys, what's going on?
I'm just following you around.
It's like, oh great, you saw me on Foursquare, thanks so much, but can I enjoy my beer with Paige?
Yeah.
And I just think we're gonna reach a saturation point where people are gonna just, I don't know if they're gonna get rid of their profiles, but they're just gonna say, you know what, I don't need everything on my life to be public. And honestly, when I go to hire people now, the first thing I do is I go look their Facebook page or MySpace page, and I want to make sure that they're not too much of a jackass. Like you expect some jackassery,
Right.
but there's a line.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I feel like there's a whole generation now growing up with it where that seems natural. It's weird to us, remembering a time when your relationships with people were not online. I don't know. I feel like young people today don't care.
I think in some ways, like, you're wrong. And I'm a huge believer in transparency. And now, yes, should you be responsible? Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't check into my toilet every time I take a dump. And if we want to have a quiet beer, maybe we shouldn't check into Foursquare. But one of my horizontals that I invest in is transparency. Fundamentally, what you talk about is there's a generational shift to be more transparent. And I love it. I love transparency, just like I love mobility, in that transparency solves one of the biggest problems across everything we do, from policy to products to everything we put resources into as a country or as a person. Transparency disintermediates information. So think about this. You're producing a phone, a TV, a product for consumers. You rely on people to do research. Intermediaries who collect information from, you went to the state fair and you filled information what you like to an online forum. And these people collect this information and then tell some consumer product department what they should make. Or you set policy and you're saying, we shouldn't let gays in the military because those military guys don't want gays in the military. Well, the reality is we don't care. And I don't want to go to a political decision here, but it's like people are biased by people who collect information and tell them what's important. Transparency lets us skip past that. Transparency says, here's me checking in, here's what I think, here's what I eat, here's what I consume, here's what I buy. And in aggregate, that's going to let government make better decisions. It's going to let people who make devices for us make better devices. We're going to use our resources better if transparency continues to catch on.
I think that will be one of the really positive net effects. I think that's a pretty amazing point. I think what's interesting is it's driven right now by narcissism.
That's fine.
Right? It's like, hey, I want everybody to know this cool thing I'm doing. I want everything.
If narcissism is the Marine that has to land on the beach and build a beachhead, fine. We can follow it with altruism and social change later.
You know what? Sign me up for Paige Craig 2012. What other topics do we have?
I think that's our show. We gotta wrap it up. We're out of time.
All right, Lon, are you gonna walk out on this show also?
I had to back off. I was on 5 shows.
What happened? I'm kind of curious to hear what happened. Can we talk about it?
It was clear that I was on too many This Weekend shows because I've always done YouTube and I wanted to do the movies show and I have to be on this show because I've always been on this show. So yeah, I was doing iPad also.
I thought it was just Sweeps Week
Men.
and that you were trying to bump up the ratings until you walked out on Calicanis and you guys got a huge rating spike. And you guys went and had a beer afterwards.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
There was there was one unpleasant day. We had been disagreeing on the issue of blog posts on the show notes.
Well, I gotta say, I was a little nervous you were gonna walk out on me today, and so.
Well, that's it. No, we have a good time. It's very convivial.
I appreciate it. Well, Lon, thank you for your help as always. It's great having you here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And
thanks to you for guest hosting.
Of course. Thanks for having me, as always. And Paige, thank you for coming out, sharing your experiences as an entrepreneur, as an investor. I'm sure your next company is going to make $1 billion, trillion, $1 million, but also do some kind of amazing good in this world that most people won't have a chance to ever do. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the stuff that you build over time.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
And thanks for joining us on Twist. You'll have your regular host, Jason Calacanis, back for the next episode. And keep watching and stay tuned.
You got a web show you want to create. You need something to make you look and sound really great. A lightweight, portable broadcast device. For a TV studio, you can't beat the price. TriCaster, TriCaster. For web television, use a TriCaster. TriCaster, TriCaster. For web television, use a TriCaster. Audio mixing and special effects. Multi-camera switching, digital muscle flex. Playback clips on your live remote shoots. A chroma key, green screen, muscle to boot. Live production and virtual sets. Streaming like a pro across the internet. It's made of awesome and it's full of wind. And TriCast is what we use it this weekend. TriCaster, TriCaster. For web television, use a TriCaster. TriCaster, TriCaster. For web television, use a TriCaster. For web television, use a TriCaster. For web television, use a TriCaster. Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from